He is truly a renowned um, professor, scientist, all of the things. I've had the opportunity to meet Paul and listen to him speak to us, and he really will be a wow factor tonight. So lean in, get your pen and pencil out. Paul, I want to welcome Mr. Dr. Paul to the call. Thanks so much for being with us.
Oh, thanks, Erica. Hi, Holly. Hi, everybody. Gosh, thanks for being here. So excited. I just got off a call with Susan Sly and her team in Canada and Hawaii. So it was really fun. So thanks for being patient, for allowing me to jump on a couple of minutes late. There's so much to talk about. One of the things that I thought was really appropriate to start tonight is, to me, I get the sense that the whole world is starting a reset, right? I mean, after COVID, it's kind of like, oh man, we've kind of found our bearings again, and we're getting reacquainted with the real world, the outside world. And yeah, I think a lot of people have struggled. So there's no doubt there's a desperate need for all of you to solve these health concerns, real health concerns that so many people are having. So you're on the front line. There's a massive opportunity. I mean, in the millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people that need this solution because it works. So yeah, the end is not going to be in sight for a long time. So there's a lot of work to be done, and there's no greater time to do it. I don't say this with the intention of being spiritual or religious for you all, but one of my favorite books is The Prayer of Jabez. And what I like about it is that it focuses on by starting with what you can do to help somebody. And it's actually how you want to start your conversation. Hey, what can I do to help you today? I know it sounds kind of bold, but it's amazing. I've been using it for a while, and it's amazing what interaction it leads to and the opportunity that it leads to for you to make a difference in somebody's life. And so, yeah, it's worth a shot. Just to start that conversation with somebody by asking them what you can do to help them. And you'll be amazed at what that might lead to next. And so, yeah, what I want to focus on tonight is just this opportunity. You have something that can help a lot of people. So, when you ask them what you can do to help, I imagine that in a lot of cases, it's going to be something related to improving, enhancing their current status of their health. And so we have an unbelievable solution for it. So I am going to share my screen because I want to just start with some qualifications here with, what I do and where you might be able to. Oh, I can't. So Erica, are you able to enable me, or can someone?
Let me see. Lauren, are you able to do that?
Yep, but I don't know if I can keep you a host. Hang on one second.
Okay.
Or a co-host.
Dr. Paul, while you're bringing the slides up, I love doing that too. Any networking call, like how can I
be now because he's another co-host.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead, Erica.
No, I just love asking that question. I love that Dr. Paul just said that. He was saying, how can I help you? Any networking call or anyone that you meet in person, I always say, how can I serve you? And when you actually say that, sometimes you stop people dead in their tracks because they're not used to people asking them that. And when you ask them that, genuinely listen. Yeah. And so like this morning, I had a networking coffee meeting before I had to go into the city for a meeting. And I sat down with someone, wasn't even about Isagenix, completely, a different type of networking meeting. I said, how can I serve you? And I found out about a charity that she's really involved with and someone else I could connect her with. And it was the first thing I did when I got in the car is I made that connection to her. You're making a bond for someone and really knowing that they got heard, they got listened to, and you want to serve them, just like Dr. Paul said. So are you able to share now?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Okay. All right.
So, one of the places where I like to start is establishing right from the start what you all have, which is so unique. With the research that Isagenix has to support the effectiveness of their products and their health solution. I've heard from many people that, oh, Dr. Paul, you're an advisor for the company. Isagenix funded the research, so it's biased. And there's absolutely no truth to that. I mean, first of all, there's a little bit of bias in every research. I don't care where it comes from. And just as an example of this, I currently have $1 million grant funding right now from the National Institute of Health. And if you're from the States, you know that the National Institute of Health is kind of considered the gold standard of scientific research funding. I'm going to be totally blunt and honest and candid that there's absolutely no difference whether the funding comes from the National Institute of Health, which is government funding, whether it comes from a philanthropic organization like the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation or some other philanthropic entity, or if it comes from industry and private industry, such as Isagenix or Abbott or any other nutrition supplement company. So there's no difference. And here's why there's no difference. And just because there's an affiliation, you have to fully disclose any relationship that you have at the outset so that everybody is made aware of this. And the truth be told, the research is not done and performed and conducted under the confines of the granting agency. So whether it's the NIH, the National Institute of Health, whether it's a philanthropic organization, whether it's a company like Isagenix, you're not doing the research within the physical confines of the building of those funding sources. You're doing it independently at your university. And so, that's a really good point to establish and educate people with. Because there is this misunderstanding. It's a total misunderstanding that people have that just because the funding came from a private industry, it's somehow less than the funding that might come from the NIH. It absolutely is not. There's absolutely no difference. And the affiliations that happen inside the government versus what an affiliation might be with industry is absolutely no different. So there's so many safeguards along the way so that when I get this funding from Isagenix, for example, to my university, I don't touch the money. The governing sponsored research office at the university receives the money and distributes it to me as I've outlined in the grant. So I just want to really enforce that because I've heard it a number of times over the years that I've been affiliated with Isagenix, and there's really no basis for that misunderstanding for people other than a lack of education. You have ethical standards. In the United States, we have what's called the Institutional Review Board at universities, and they have to follow very, very rigid, strict adherence guidelines that they have to comply with, the universities I'm talking about, for their scientific faculty researchers. So when their faculty like myself are conducting a study, they need to abide by very, very strict guidelines. In fact, I just finished a 12-hour course on recertification of me being a researcher. So it's not something that I can just all of a sudden say, hey, I want to do a study. You have to get all these certifications. In Canada, it's called the Research Ethics Board. Then you have to get it passed through the Human Subjects Committee. All of the study participants have to sign an informed consent. And then the peer review process. So let me give you an example of this. When you finally conduct the study, you gather all the data, you've been, monitoring the research study participants for, in our case, in some of the research that I've done with Isagenix, we've monitored them for over a year. We've collected massive amounts of data. Do you know that when you send it to certain journals, for example, a journal that I just submitted my data to, 92% of the studies that are submitted to certain journals are rejected at the editorial level, meaning the editors of the journal, who are the experts in the field, they look at it and they right off the bat just say, nah, this is trash, and they literally throw it in the trash. 92% get trashed. So only 8% of these studies move past. That's just the first step of the review process. So for people to downplay the peer review process of what takes place with the research that is conducted, and in this case, I'm speaking specifically of the data that I have been able to peer review and publish with Isagenix products, it's no simple feat. And so one of the journals that I submitted to has a 92% rejection rate, and we made it through the 8%. We were passed on. And in fact, I heard last week that not only did it pass the review and the acceptance of the editors. But, and I submitted this back last July. So from last July, this process takes nearly a year of review and critical analysis and back and forth of making revisions on the study. And so it was just accepted last week. So that's a major, major feat. And I'm so excited in time. I can't share the results of that study, but it's going to be groundbreaking when it does get officially published, which will be in the next couple of weeks. But the process is lengthy, it's rigorous, it's very, very intense. And as I said before, only 8% make it past the editors. Less than that make it past the other expert reviewers from around the world. So I just want you to know that, this data, when I present it, and I know I present it to many various groups, I think sometimes people take it for granted that it's, oh yeah, it's just a study, it's easy to get that stuff published. And there's maybe a bias in there. None. I mean, no different from any other funding. And so I just want you to know that what you have is very powerful and very impactful and very much needed by the world. And so, yeah, I think that's that to me is the most unique aspect of Isagenix. I know people always talk about the community, and it is very, very special. I know, that's a huge bonus for being with Isagenix, but ultimately I can say with 100% confidence that you all have in Isagenix what no other company has, and that is this high impact, peer-reviewed validation and support of the products. And that provides you a platform to stand on that is unmatched and unparalleled. And I think that drives the community. It drives your ability to interact and engage with yourselves as a team, but then also with others that need it. And so I think the strength of the community, when you really want to talk about the community, because every company is going to say they have the best community. I can tell you that right now. I know, because I've heard it and I've seen it. But what Isagenix has is not just the community, but they have a community that's built on this peer-reviewed scientific research that no other company has. So that's the special sauce. So don't lose sight of that. I know you want to emphasize that community aspect, but everyone will tell you that they have the best, but you have the best community that has the unmatched, unparalleled third-party scientific research to back up what you all are sharing with the community. So that's the process. Here's a small little snippet of some of the papers that I've published with Isagenix. You guys should feel really excited about that. So one of the things I wanted to just really drive home tonight is protein pacing. I think that if there's one lifestyle strategy that you want to build on, and I know some of you get really excited about some of the support products of Isagenix. I know the new joint support gummies just came out last week. I know that many of you feel that the collagen elixir is worthy of building a business around. I remember, years ago when it was Isagenesis. Oh, I don't need anything else. It's just Isagenesis. Ionics, was there for a while. People were just building a business around Ionics. I've been affiliated with Isagenix now for a number of years, and I've seen all the things kind of come and go, rise to the top and kind of dwindle, except for one thing. And one thing has been with the company since its inception. It's been with me over my 38-year career as a scientist, and that's protein pacing. Listen, I got 40 of you on this call right now. If there's one message that you should take and carry with you at the forefront of your interaction, and if you want to, tease people and bring them into Isagenix with one of those support products like the gummies, joint support, or like one of the elixirs, the nootropic or the adaptogen or the collagen, that's fine. But to rely on that as your marquee, kind of landmark product to build, it's going to be a very short-lived business for you and a short-lived season of success. And I sometimes used to get a little bit gun-shy about being that direct, but there's just no debate. There's no question that if you want something that's going to hold the test of time and allow you to build your business, and rely on a foundation that's rock solid, not kind of a house of cards. If you know, as young kids, we used to build, used to take a deck of 52 cards and see who could build the highest, house. And you'd get all excited, and the dog would walk by and wag its tail, and the cards would to the ground. That's essentially what you're doing if you're thinking that one of these other peripheral support products is going to get you there. I think it's going to build some people's business and they're going to get very excited, but eventually you can't improve somebody's health from the outside in. It has to be built from the inside out. It has to. If you want to allow this to survive the test of time and to really force multiply to a level that is built on the strongest house of a foundation as you can build for years to come, for a legacy of you and your family, there's actually absolutely no debate than to do it with protein pacing and nutritional fasting. Though if you hang your shingle, your business on protein pacing and nutritional fasting, I'm pretty much going to tell you, I guarantee you're going to have the greatest rate of success long-term and, for a legacy than anything else. Yeah, there's just no debate about that. And the reason is because that's where the scientific validation, integrity, and proven evidence lies. And so, yeah, this is the slide that if you haven't seen it before, which I'm sure all of you have, but this is what you want to make sure that you're writing down, taking a picture of, and carrying in your back pocket. If you don't have this, then you're missing out. The FOMO, you're going to be totally FOMO. So let me just talk about this for a second. So, take down these things. They're essential. The first meal has to be consumed, right when you wake up, last one at the end of the day. But there are some important components to this. If you are primarily building your business in people that are 40 years of age and older, they have to be consuming closer to the 40 to 50 grams. And there's a reason for it. Once we hit the age of 40, our body's ability to undergo a process called protein synthesis begins to decline precipitously. That means fast. And so I like to use the analogy of a dimmer switch. So if I had a dimmer switch in the room right now, and I were to go over to it and I were to move it up, if I was young, under the age of 40, I would put that dimmer switch on and the brightness in the room would illuminate more. That's protein synthesis. And when you eat high quality protein, your ability to change that dimmer switch to a low setting to a high setting can occur very, very quickly. As we get older, if we're consuming the same amount of protein that we were when we were younger, or maybe even a little bit less, as most older people do, that dimmer switch is halted. It's actually fixed at a certain level, about halfway. You can't get the lights on any more than that unless you start to increase the amount of high quality protein that you're consuming. So one of the greatest takeaways that I want you to take from my call tonight with you is that if you are somebody who's 40 years of age and older, you need to consume a higher level of that protein, of the amount that I just showed you here. You need to be consuming closer to that 40 to 50 grams. That's the only way your body is going to be able to compensate for what's happening inside your cells, and that is not utilizing those amino acids as effectively and as efficiently as they once did. And that's just a proven fact. We have great science to support this, and especially if you're over the age of 50 and over the age of 60. So your protein requirement needs actually go up as you get older, not less. And that's one of the greatest downfalls. It impacts our cognitive, mental well-being. It compromises our immune system and our gut health. So we often think that proteins are just for building muscle, and they're important for that, but proteins serve much, much more essential roles inside of our body than just helping us maintain our healthy, lean muscle mass. They help our brain function, they help our immune system, they help our bones, they help our gut health. Our nervous system. So don't ever lose sight of the importance of protein beyond just helping keep our muscles healthy and strong. And so that's a really important point, and I just want to drive that home. Next would be the types of proteins. I think that's really essential. And one of the things that Isagenix has at a level that not a lot of other companies have, and that is the the composition of the protein that's used. It's called whey protein concentrate. And why that's so important is because it has all these wonderful things over here that you see, this undenatured whey protein concentrate. It has all of these substances that are found within the whey protein mixture that is stripped in many other products that people might consume from other companies, things that are called whey protein isolate or whey protein hydrolysate. That's whey protein, but it's whey protein that has been stripped of all of these other healthy, very healthy, nourishing compounds. In this case, these what we call macroglobulins. These are tiny, protein components that are just essential to our immune system, essential to our nervous system, essential to our gut health, essential to our brain health. So what makes Isagenix so unique and so different is the composition of their whey protein. It's undenatured whey protein concentrate. So what would be the top 3 servings of that whey protein concentrate? It would be these that I'm showing you here, kind of in this ascending order. You have the isolene plant-based, you have the isolene whey-based, and then you have the isolene whey pro, the isolene pro whey-based. That would be the top of the heap of all of the outstanding protein pacing meals that you can consume with Isagenix. So I want to drive that home because it's really important. Again, it's the isolene and the isolene pro that is the best that you can take in. After that, it would be things like the Isopro, both plant-based and whey-based, and then the amped tri-release. Those would be things that you would use, for example, as a supplement. So I call them snacks here, but they would be supplements. So really important that you're differentiating between those 2 things, because these are a complete meal, because they have all of the essential amino acids, they have the whey protein concentrate, they have the vitamins and minerals, they have the digestive enzymes, whereas these do not. These have the whey protein concentrate, if it's the Isopro, and then they have the casein protein and the egg white protein, if it's the tri-release, but they're not a complete meal, so you'd have to add other things to these in order for you to be nourishing your body at the highest level. So really important that you follow the protein pacing as best you can, using the isolene and isolene pro as your starting point, and then supplementing if you need to with these forms of the high quality protein and the Isopro and tri-release. And then of course the third part would be the bars. That would be the next level down. The reason why you don't want to rely on the bars as a standalone protein pacing meal is because it's just simply not enough protein. The bars are only coming in at about that 20 to 24 grams, if that. And so their protein, it's very good, very, very high quality. It's just not as much as you need in order to fully activate that protein synthesis and qualify as a high quality protein pacing meal. So I always tell people, eat the bars with some other healthy form of protein, maybe a couple of hard-boiled eggs, maybe a scoop of tri-release or Isopro. So something that gives you a little bit more high-quality protein to get you closer to that 30 to 35 gram. And then, of course, there are fantastic, I call them snacks and add-ons to the protein pacing meals. If you need some more calories, these would be what you would supplement with. And then the other things that are often added in as well, this would be for your metabolic health. Some of these things, the elixirs, as I've mentioned already before. So that would be kind of how you would prioritize the protein pacing and why it's so essential. So one other thing I wanted to stress is that when you're consuming a protein pacing meal, and I know I talk about this as much as I can because it's so valuable, start your meal with your protein. There's tremendous health benefit to when you do sit down and consume a meal, that you're starting with the protein as the starting point and then adding in the healthy carbohydrate, the healthy fats, and the other healthy components of your meal. It's absolutely essential because that's going to help stabilize your blood sugar. It's going to allow your body to make those amino acids that you're consuming more readily available to the body. So really important that when you do sit down and eat a meal, protein should be the first thing that you eat. Now, there's some exceptions to that. If you're somebody who exercises a lot on occasion, it's okay to get some nourishment in the form of, I like to use that as my cheat meal sometimes if I've been exercising a lot. So I take in some healthy carbohydrates or sometimes not healthy carbohydrates, but it's okay to do that if you need to refuel your body with some healthy carbohydrates or healthy fats. That would be the one exception to not starting the meal with the protein. But otherwise, it's absolutely imperative that you start the meal with protein first. And that's really important. One other thing I want to just point out is that oftentimes, because I speak so strongly in support of the shakes with isogenics, that having meals with whole food should be the other half of what you're consuming. And so people ask, what would qualify as another protein pacing meal? Well, you'd want to have some form of high quality plant or animal-based protein. So whether it's pasture-raised eggs, pasture-raised chicken, whether it's wild-caught fish, whether it's grass-free range beef or pork or something like that, that would be other very, very high quality sources of protein. So having that balance of the isoline and isoline pro shakes with those other very healthy, high quality sources of nourishment is really important. And just making sure that you understand that I'm not suggesting that you're only eating the isogenics products. You should also be equally consuming really healthy, high quality foods. So yeah, it's worth repeating because the data is so compelling. It's so in support and strong that if we want to make the greatest impact on our overall health and well-being, protein pacing is where you need to start. I can't emphasize it enough. It should be what you build your businesses around because it's held the test of time and it will continue to be at the top of what we know to nourish our bodies at the highest level. So I'm going to finish up there and maybe open it up if there are some questions or if there's some things in the chat that people were interested in me responding to. I think that might be good way to finish up.
Yeah, so if anyone has any questions in the chat, I didn't see anything, a lot of just remarkable comments here that I see a lot of people really on our team using protein pacing. Ian, it looks like you have a question.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Paul. Wow, this was amazing. So from what I've been learning from you, I started doing 2 scoops of the Isopro right when I get up with like 4 ounces of water to try to get 36 grams of protein. Is that yes? That's a yes?
It is, and yeah, I would say maybe just to qualify it, unless you were using that as your first morning breakfast meal, or I'm not sure what you were doing in addition to that, but if it was possible, or if you're using it before you're going to maybe go for a walk or do some physical movement, but if it's just a standalone meal, I would perhaps encourage you to maybe do I would encourage you to do the Isoline Pro instead. And the reason is the Isoline Pro is the complete meal, whereas the Isopro is more for what you want to use around it, a snack if you're on the go, or it's before an exercise bout or after an exercise bout, or both. Maybe do 1 scoop. What we have our athletes do is 1 scoop of the Isopro before and 1 scoop of the Isopro right after they finish their exercise. So that's a really helpful, very, very helpful strategy. It's going to really make a difference on your lean muscle mass. But for a morning, I would probably defer and encourage you to do an Isoline Pro as your morning start.
I just don't like a lot right when I get up, but I know within the first hour, you have stated really to get, protein in, and that's where it's light. And so I don't feel like it's heavy for me as I start my
okay, good.
So is that, and then I do protein paste throughout, but that's a great way of maybe just I'll get my shake in as well after,
I-
but so quick after that.
Yeah, no, I would then encourage you to continue to do that. Yeah, if that works, and again, you're right, it is going to be a little bit more of a leaner, lighter,
Yeah.
high quality protein serving. I would continue to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's
Thank-
great.
Thank you.
Awesome. Great question. Great question, Ann. I know like my first shake of the day is 1 scoop of Isopro, 1 scoop of the whey. And so I do 1 and 1, and a little more protein in one, little like less sugar. And I don't know if
Yeah,
that's a good combination, but that typically works out well for me. So I'm getting a little bit of the full meal replacement too.
absolutely.
Dr. Paul, there's a couple other questions and we can kind of just do rapid fire on these. So,
Yeah,
a recommendation for someone who's hit their plateau in their weight loss. We all hear that. We're all trying to help our consumers and customers. They've hit the plateau. What do you suggest is the best protocol? Full 30-day, 2 fast days? What would you say?
yeah. I would say definitely to stay with the protein pacing, keep it disciplined every 4 hours, no snacking in between. I know a lot of people sometimes struggle with maintaining that clear 4 hour window in between your protein pacing meals. To me, that is a game changer for so many people, especially those that have hit the plateau. So eating a little bit more at those 4 protein pacing meals makes a world of difference. And then just making sure the last one you eat at night is a very, very high quality serving of either the Isopro or the Tri-Release, within that 2 hour time of going to bed. And so that's mandatory. I think keeping that 4 hour space in between meals has to occur.
And then the one right before bed for better digestion, better sleep, like
Yeah.
making you feel fuller longer. Just touch upon that.
Yeah, I mean, that one is so important. I think a lot of people, when they hit that plateau, they think less is better. And it's not. You want to make sure that you're eating that bedtime, high quality serving of protein because it's going to help replenish, restore, and kind of rebuild your lean body mass. And that's what's going to serve as your expenditure. That's what's going to be burning your fat, calories. So you don't want to ever compromise on that. So that end of day 4th serving of that high quality Isopro or Tri-Release is absolutely critical that you take in right before bed. And then, yeah, I think not overdoing the cleanse days. I think making sure that you're either doing the 2-day back to back every other week, not every week. I think that's really important for plateauing as well. And then, yeah. Or if you wanted to do a 1 day every other week. So I think I give some people flexibility. I know the 2-day is very, very effective. My research has shown, but you would do a 1 or 2-day every other week, not every week. And then the other thing is to incorporate some really high quality movement experiences. And so if you haven't read my prize book, I have to mention it just because that's been a game changer for people. I think keeping the protein pacing with those exercise bouts, not too often, 3-4 times a week. You don't need to do it more than that. I think sometimes people just get excessive in their movement. I think you want to be active every day by walking, but then your exercise, you really need to cut back on if you're in a plateau. I know it sounds opposite, but less is more with exercise.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people overdo it. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So we answered Julie's question on the fasting days. Someone said, I noticed you didn't mention whole blend shakes. Where do those come in your recommendation?
Yeah, I did in my photos. I'm sorry if you couldn't read it. I did have the whole blend. Yeah, I think, the whole blend are good. Definitely. And especially if you respond to those well. I'm still a user of the original Isoline Pro shakes with the digestive enzymes and things like that. But yeah, I think whatever works for you in terms of the quantity of protein, the quality of it, they're identical. So I really think it's just a personal preference for people. But yeah, absolutely, the whole blend is fine.
Incubation is shakes, non-incubation. Recommend or
Well,
recommend?
I always have to be careful with that one because it always seems to be a lightning rod. But yeah, I mean, if again, I don't know if I would want to say it blanket, for everybody to do, but if you are somebody that maybe does have some digestive intolerances and difficulty, an incubation could be the absolute answer.
Okay. What about someone with high cholesterol? Any other recommendations you have for them? Frank asked that question.
Yeah, yeah. So here's the deal with cholesterol. The old advice that we used to give, hey, limit all the cholesterol in your body, don't eat in your diet, don't eat eggs and, high quality animal protein. And that's just not backed by good science. So we know that, there's different types of cholesterol in the body. We have, LDL. It's really the LP little a that is the damaging one of the cholesterol that we have to measure. So that's the one that kind of damages the arteries. So that's the one that you want to keep low. But yeah, so if you eliminate all cholesterol from your diet from healthy sources, I think eggs are phenomenal. So healthy, especially if it's a good, pasture raised egg. Your body's going to make more cholesterol. So you have to be real careful. And I see this all the time in people that have gone, kind of strict plant-based vegetarian. Your body needs cholesterol. So it's not some, evil. It's a necessary good that we need in our body. So yeah, I think some people have a real genetic condition. It's called familial hypercholesterolemia. So in those cases, it's a little bit more challenging, but that's a small segment of the population. I think for most people, eating some really good high quality cholesterol types foods from, grass-fed beef, from as I said, pasture raised eggs, I think would be really beneficial for people. And then just maintaining a healthy, active lifestyle, getting out and walking, making sure you're eating some fatty fish, making sure that you're consuming the isogenics. I think, isogenics, heart health is a really good product. The heart booster it would be one for people. Yep.
Yeah, my husband started adding those to every single one of his shakes. He had a heart condition back in November, and it's really helped make a difference.
Oh,
So
good.
that's
Yeah.
great. The other thing that Kim just wanted clarified, and I think you clarified it, but just I'm going to repeat it just in case. She said just the shakes, or should you be adding in the snacks? And it sounds like if you have a shake, have the snack at the same time. So if you have the shake, have the 2 hard-boiled eggs, or have the almonds at the same
Yeah.
time, and then fast for those 4 hours. Is what
Good.
I heard you say.
Yeah, Erica, really good. I'm glad you asked that question. If you're just doing the shakes, you're not consuming enough. And, I've been really straightforward with isogenics on this, that, if you're just recommending that people consume 2 of the shakes, 240 to 280 calories. So, 600 calories, let's say, for those 2 meals. And then you're eating a 500 calorie diet. That's only 1,100 calories. That's not even close to being enough, especially if you want to maintain your healthy lean muscle mass. So never consume a shake by itself. Always add something else. Absolutely. So if you're doing the isoline, you definitely need to add another 100 to 200 calories. If you're doing the isoline pro, you absolutely have to have a hard-boiled egg, or half of an avocado, or some fresh berries, or some nut butter. Absolutely. Yeah, I think, get past that misinformation that the shake is all you need. It is not all you need. You need to make sure that you're adding some calories onto that so that you don't snack in between, and you're providing your body the amount of nutrition that it needs to maintain your healthy lean muscle mass, so that you can go out and play pickleball, you can go out for the walk with the dogs, you can go out and play with your grandkids, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, don't be misinformed that the shake is all you need. It's not. You'll be undernourished. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Holly just asked the question between the isoline shake and the isoline whole blend shake. Which one you prefer?
Yeah, so as I said, I prefer the isoline pro traditional original shake over the whole blend. I do have some whole blend, and we'll put it in some smoothies at times. But yes, I prefer just me personally. So yeah.
And
But the
then
whole blend's
what
great
protein?
products.
I think this is the last question. Oh, gummies good for nursing and pregnancy? Okay or not okay?
Yeah, the joint support gummies.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, I would check with your your healthcare team, because you might still be on prenatals, or you might be on some other vitamin supplementation and things like that. But generally speaking, they shouldn't necessarily interfere. But I wouldn't want to make a blanket recommendation to allow that without you first just running it by your healthcare team, just to yeah, maybe give
Perfect.
them.
And we'll end with Denise Wiggins' question, and because she is the faster upon faster of, I think she's done like 797 cleanse days in totality or something. Denise, you can put the real number in the chat. But she said, what protein, if any, might you recommend on cleanse days or give it a rest? 523, Paul. I'm sorry.
523. Yeah, I just saw that.
Light.
Yeah. So, I'm okay. I have to be careful how I say this. The Cleanse for Life obviously is fantastic, to continue on with your cleanse days with that. But you could do an Isoline Pro and just take it in small, every 4 hours. Again, on cleanse days, I don't recommend more often snacking. So every, couple of hours, I think you need to give your body some downtime. But you could do a small 1 or 2 ounce serving of an Isoline Pro shake. That's 36 grams of protein. And if you extend it over the course of the whole day, it's only 280 calories. That's not a lot, with the addition of the Cleanse for Life. Or you could do, so not or you could do the bone broth, of course, to give you some high quality protein as well there. Not quite as high as the Isoline Pro. So I think to answer that question, my first might be to do the Cleanse for Life and then even an Isoline Pro and just space it out every 4 hours. You do, 2 to 3 ounces, because that would give you a really high quality source of protein, very low calorie, and keep you well within the confines of a cleanse day, but provide your body with just optimal nourishment, and very low glycemic, by the way, very low perturbation, change of your blood sugar when you do that. So yeah, I've had some great success with that, but I don't want to ruffle too many feathers. But yeah, I think, listen, we're always about trying to improve. And so, yeah, if you're somebody who needs a reset, or you need, you're on a plateau, try doing your cleanse days of 36 to 60 hours, as my research has shown to be the ideal amount of time. Try to do an Isoline Pro every 4, not a full one, but do just one over the course of the each of the cleanse days, but divide it up into 4 equal servings.
Awesome. Well, on her 524th cleanse, she's going to test it out for us and give us the results. So maybe she can be part of your study.
Nice.
So, Dr. Paul, I think we could probably go on for hours. You are just so intriguing, so educational, just provided us so much value tonight. If everyone could just throw in the chat, like, all that you're feeling right now, how excited you are about just all this research and just everything that Dr. Paul just poured into us. Thank you so much for defending your time, for being here with us tonight, for just really being here to just educate our team even more. Because I think, when we have the education that we can stand behind our products, it's just crazy the magic that can continue to happen. And
Erica, no, this has been a pleasure for me, and thank you. And listen, I just want to leave you guys all with this. There's going to be some really exciting news coming out with one of the publications. And I have to really contain myself, but yeah, it's going to separate even Isagenix even more from the rest of the pack. And again, it's going to substantiate the benefits that protein pacing and the cleanse nutritional fasting days combined can do for your health. And so I just want to go back to what I started with. I want to encourage you all to use that as your foundation, because the evidence that's going to come out in the next week or two is going to be so groundbreaking. Yeah, it's going to be earth-shattering. And you are all in the right place at the right time to leverage this to impact people's lives in a way that we've never witnessed before. So keep doing what you're doing.
Absolutely. And we let everyone know too, Dr. Paul, not what the product was, but that according to Dr. Plant, the launch of the decade is coming out at Celebration. So we're ready. We're
Awesome.
all teed up and ready to go. So thank you so much. Everyone have a great evening. Let's go out there and educate everyone else. Let's go out and bless so many people's lives and make sure we ask, how can I serve you? How can I help you? Cheers to everyone. Have a great evening.